Students, how are you all? Today we are going to talk about On the Receipt of My Mother's Picture, which is a poem by William Cowper. William Cowper, the poet, belonged to the age of sensibility, which began in 1744 and which ended in 1785. The age of sensibility, as we have already discussed in our previous videos, that it was an age within the neoclassical period when the romantic strain in poetry was reflected. Romantic strain within neoclassic poetry was reflected. So age of sensibility, or the age of transition as it is called, or age of Johnson, Dr. Samuel Johnson as it is called. So William Cowper is the poet who belongs to that age in English literature. So today we are going to read some more lines from his poem On the Receipt of My Mother's Picture. Where once we dwelt, our name is heard no more. Children not thine have trod my nursery's floor. And where the gardener Robin day by day drew me to school along the public way, delighted with my pebble coach, and wrapped in scarlet mantle warm and velvet capped. It's now become a history little known, that once we called the pastoral house our own, short-lived possession. But the record fair that memory keeps of all thy kindness there still outlives many a storm that has effaced 1,000 other themes less deeply traced. The poet in these lines says that their family, which once lived in Berkhamsted or Hertfordshire, has removed from there, removed from there long ago, and children of another mother were now in possession of that room where Cowper lived in his infancy. He says that they are little known now at school at Berkhamsted. And he says that to the school, dressed in a warm scarlet-colored cloak. Scarlet means red, a red-colored cloak and velvet cap, and playing with his toy coach, he was dragged by the gardener Robin. Very few persons now know that the Coopers, the family of Cowper, they once lived in the parsonage house. Cowper means to say that they are altogether forgotten at Berkhamsted. Now nobody knows them. Nobody knows them now over there. Cowper moralizes over the transitoriness of earthly possessions. He says that life and all its possessions are earthly. They are transitory, ephemeral, short-lived. They have a short duration. Nothing is permanent in human life. So Cowper here reflects on his life, that all his past things, all his past possessions, and even his own relatives like his mother and father, they have all gone. They have all left him. Now the phrase short-lived possessions here means the earthly possessions are vain and transitory. They are short-lived. They have little duration. The poet says that these possessions have all passed away from their hands. It is their nature to do so. The poet here says that though all earthly possessions have disappeared, the pleasing recollections of his dear mother's kindness is still distinctly preserved in the midst of the many calamities that he has suffered. The calamities that the poet has suffered have removed the memory of 1,000 other things not so deeply impressed upon his mind, but not the memory of his mother's kindness. So in these lines, the poet reflects over his past, his childhood, and his childhood home in Hertfordshire or Berkhamsted. He says that once we dwelt there, that was our house, and Robin, the gardener, he would drag him to school, and Cooper, as a child, used to wear at that time uh, scarlet colored, red colored mantle cloak and a velvet cap. Now it's all history. Now somebody else lives over there. The people over there have all forgotten them, all have forgotten the Cooper family. So all these things are the part of human life, and it's all short lived, ephemeral, and transitory. But the poet still remembers everything that he had during his childhood. Thy nightly visits, thy nightly visits to my chamber made, that thou mightest know me safe and warmly laid. Thy morning bounties ere I left my home, the biscuit or confectionery plum, the fragrant waters on my cheeks bestowed, but thy own hand till fresh they shone and glowed, all this and more endearing still than all, thy constant flow of love that knew no fall, never roughened by those cataracts and breaks that humor interposed too often makes. All this still legible in memory's page, and still to be so to my latest age. Adds joy to duty, makes me glad to pay such honors to thee as my numbers may. Perhaps a frail memorial, but sincere, not scorned in heaven, though little noticed here. In these lines, Cooper, the poet, says that his mother was so kind and affectionate that she came every night to his bedroom to see whether he was all right and well covered in bed or not. She gave him biscuits and sugar plums to eat every morning before he left home for school. And she rubbed his cheeks with scented water with her own hands till they looked fresh and ruddy. All these acts of kindness by his mother he remembers well, although so much time has now passed. But more winning and charming than all these acts of kindness is the fact of her ceaseless and uniform course of her love for him. His mother, was so kind to him, and she loved him very dearly and took care of him very dearly. Her love for him remained unaffected by any change that appeared in her moods and mental states at different times. Her mother's mood might be different. She might be in some stress or anger, but she never showed her stress or anger to her child, Cooper. As a steady ever flowing brook that never rises nor ebbs, nor is disturbed by the interpositions of cataracts and breakwaters, so the steady and uniform course of the poet's mother alone never rose and fell, nor was interrupted with violence at one time and indifference at another. So Cooper here compares his mother with a steady flowing river which never disturbs, which is never disturbed, according to the mood in which she happened to be at the time. The poet says that all the acts of kindness and love of his mother he remembers well, and he is likely to remember them in the same way as long as he lived. Her love made it pleasant for him to perform his duty and to celebrate her memory as he may in a song. The poet says that this song, written to celebrate the kind acts and deep love of his mother for him, though of poor quality, was yet true and sincere. Therefore, it was not likely to be despised by God, though not much esteemed by men. Little noticed here means it is has been used as an expression of modesty. So here in these lines, the poet depicts the qualities of his mother. How was she and how did she behave with Cooper as a child? Could time his flight reversed restore the hours? Could time his flight reversed restore the hours when playing with thy vesture's tissued flowers, the violet, the pink, and jessamine? I pricked them into paper with a pin, and thou wast happier than myself the while, would softly speak and stroke my head and smile. Could those few pleasant hours again appear, might one wish bring them, would I wish them here, I would not trust my heart, the dear delight seems so to be desired, perhaps I might. But no, what here we call our life is such, so little to be loved and thou so much, that I should ill requite thee to constrain thy unbound spirit into bonds again. In these lines, the poet wishes time could retrace his journey and bring back the hours when he used to play with the embroidered flowers of his mother's dress. Her mother's dress carried the violet, the pink, and the jessamine flowers, and he used to copy them on a piece of paper by pricking holes in it with a pin. His mother seemed to be more pleased than Cooper himself at the process. She would smile and speak kindly to him and stroke his head by way of approbation. A question comes to Cooper's mind: if it were possible for that happy time to come back, if it could be brought back only for the wish, would it be proper for him to call it up again? Cooper he longs for that time, for old memories. It often happens in human life that we long for our old memories, especially those memories which were happy moments of our life. When we used to play as children, when we used to have joys and fun with our friends. So we long for that time. So happy moments, the moments of celebration, are always missed by every person. So Cooper says that he must not leave the decision of the question to his affection only. The great pleasure of seeing her again in life seems so desirable or enviable that his affection might lead him to wish them restored again. But Cooper decides not to do so. It will be a very ungrateful thing to do so, to call his mother, to call her back to the earthly life, which is so unhappy and miserable, will be very wrong. Cooper was religious by nature. He had a religious faith. He believed in the Christian. He had faith in the Christian belief that after death, holy souls or good souls, they go to heaven and they live in God's lap. While in contrast to the heavenly life, earthly life is considered as demeaning, as sordid, full of sorrow, grief, and pain. So Cooper here says that no, I don't want to call my mother back to this earthly life, because here life is very miserable. It's very painful. So it will be a very ungrateful thing. It will be a very wrong thing on my part to do, on my part to wish that my mother comes back. So it will be very bad return for all her affection to him. It will be becoming ungrateful to her. Her spirit is now free. It will be wrong to bring it back to the imprisonment of the body. The poet means that our earthly life is so full of misery and therefore so undesirable, and his mother was such an object of love and affection to him that it would be ungrateful on his part to wish her back into bodily imprisonment now that she has escaped from it. So, this is the idea of these lines. And rest of the poem we will discuss in another video lecture in part 4. Thank you for listening.